Hi, everybody. Good morning. How are you? Happy Sunday. So good to see everybody. It's a beautiful day out where I'm on the west coast of the United States. So really happy you could join us today. Right now, I am broadcasting on 4 different platforms. So really hoping to get to meet and talk with more of you and get some more engagement, get some more questions. I think that this has been beneficial for everyone to kind of learn from each other and listen to some of the other answers. I know I've had a lot of fun with these streams, so I hope that they're good for you too. So I have my chats up for my YouTube and for Instagram. I'm trying to keep an eye on LinkedIn and also on X, but those platforms are a little bit harder to monitor from my end. But we'll see what we can do. My intent is to broadcast for an hour today because Instagram does cut off after an hour, unfortunately. But hopefully we'll be able to spend some time together and talk about some interesting things. So it's Sunday. It's a beautiful day out where I live on the west coast of the United States. It's very hot, very warm. I think a lot of parts of the world are getting a little warm. But I went out for a nice walk with my dog this morning, had a nice coffee. So I had a great start to my day and really glad I get to spend the rest of my day with all of you. So I want to do something slightly different today. I want to do something, usually we start off with questions and I get all kinds of questions in the chat and that's pretty fun too. And we'll get to that. But, I like to travel a lot. I'm lucky that I've been able to do a lot of traveling in my life. I've been to 6 of the 7 continents. I want to go to Antarctica at some point to finish out the 7 continents. Last year in 2023, I flew about 80,000 miles on vacation. So it's I got to see a lot of parts of the world. So that's part of the reasons why I do the social media, because I get to meet people from all around the world. So we're going to start with something a little bit different today. In the chat, whether you're on, Instagram or on YouTube or whatever, let me know what city, state, province, or country you are watching from. All right? I want to know where you're joining in from. I want to make these live streams as inclusive as possible. I don't want people to feel intimidated because they're not like full-fledged data scientists or whatever the case may be. So just let me know where you're from. Just a simple introduction. Just let us know. I'm going to assume that you're in places where it's also summer and it's very warm. Although I suppose you could be from the southern hemisphere and that's still having winter. But just let me know where you're from. Just type in your city, state, province, country. I like to see where people are joining from. It gets me excited, and it also helps all of us to see how international data science is as a field. So like I said, I have my YouTube chats up. I have my Instagram chat up. Go ahead and just type in where you're from. I want to hear it. I like to see where you guys are joining in from. So give everybody here a little bit of time here. Going to go back to my chat here. I'm not seeing any cities just yet in my Instagram chat. So again, guys, just share your city and province and your country, please. Nobody wants to share that just yet, huh? Okay, we have our first one, Archie. Hey, Avi, we're not doing questions yet. We'll get to the questions. But let me just get a little bit of a global roll call here going. See where people are joining in from. India, Indore. Or Indore, India. Okay, North Carolina, United States. Nice. I have family in North Carolina. Salt Lake City, Utah. Awesome. I am not too far from Salt Lake City. Kerala, India. Kerala, India. What part of India is that in? Because I know that I have a lot of followers in India, but I know India's a very big country. So tell me what part of India Kerala is in. I've never heard of that one. Romania, Bucharest. Welcome. Romania, Bucharest. I'm not sure how many viewers I have in Eastern Europe. That's not something that really comes up in my demographics very often. So welcome and glad you're here. Arkansas. What part of Arkansas, Dayton Drilling? Let us know what part you're in. Okay, British Columbia, Canada. Nice. I've done quite a bit of work in Canada. Fun fact, I used to have a Canadian work permit for a time. I was working for IBM, and I was assigned to an extended contract in Winnipeg, Canada. And when you're in an extended contract like that, they make you go through the visa process. I never realized how ridiculously easy it is to get a visa. I arrived at the airport on a Sunday night at 10 p.m. on a snowy night in Winnipeg. The lawyers from IBM gave me a stack of papers to hand over to the immigration officers. And they looked at them, they stamped them, they put something in my passport, and I was a Canadian worker. It took all of 10 minutes on a Sunday night in Canada. But yeah, Canada is a great country, good people there. I've done a lot of work in Canada. All right, so Dayton Drilling is in Conway, close to Little Rock. Okay, nice. Thanks for joining us. Mumbai, India. Mumbai, is my understanding, is one of the tech centers of India. I've actually had some staff based out of Mumbai for many years. Kerala is in the southern part of India, also known as God's own country. Wow, that's quite a claim. All right. All right, so where else? We've got a couple people replying. Thanks a lot. But I know I have a lot more viewers than people replying, so don't be shy. It's good for us to kind of see where everybody's joining in from. It's such a diverse crowd right now. We've got Eastern Europe, we've got India, we've got various parts of the United States. I love seeing this, guys, because I'm smart enough to realize that it's a big world out there. So it's great to see everybody joining in. So if you're just joining us, I see the numbers on Instagram increasing. We are doing a little bit of a global roll call. Just let us know what city, state, and country you're calling in from or you're participating from. Love to see that. Love to see a little bit more interaction. And again, it's good for you guys to see how international data science is, because there's so many people interested in data science, so many companies, so many countries interested in it. So it's good to see this type of fellowship. Ashok Padikar writes that he's from Dubai. Nice. I was just in Dubai last summer. I visited Dubai on my way to Bali. Very interesting country, or city, I should say. It's actually a city. Very interesting city out there. Yeah, beautiful airport. The Emirates terminal at Dubai obviously is massive, so very interesting visit out there. Anybody else? Last call for the city check-in, guys. Don't be shy. You don't have to be a hardcore data scientist to participate on my channel or interact with my content. Let me know. Last call here for city and country, and then we'll get to questions. So let's start lining up questions if you guys have anything. I'm always keeping up on current events within data science. So if you guys want to talk about any current events or any recent announcements or things like that, I'm also happy to do that. And if there's anything coming across with any problems with my audio or video coming across, please let me know. I'm still new to content creation, but I'm doing my best here. But let me know if there's anything that needs fixing in terms of the quality of the stream here. And then also, let me bring up my YouTube chat. Well, it looks like YouTube is being shy this morning. I'm not seeing any conversation on YouTube just yet. YouTube seems to take a little bit longer to get started. All right, last call for city, state, and country. Nobody else? All right. If you join late, feel free to also tell us where you're from. I'll try to catch it in the chats. But we have a question from Musin07. I hope I pronounced that right. I'm not always great with names. Oh, James. James is joining us from Nashville, Tennessee. great. Wonderful. Welcome, James. And Tanveer Singh is joining us from California. What part of California? If California is so huge, I mean, you can't just say California. Are you northern? Are you southern? Let us know what part. Oh, Malaysia. Interesting. Wonderful. Welcome. I gotta imagine it's a very hot part of the world right now, right? I mean, Malaysia is a very hot country as it is, and this year seems to be particularly warm. So hopefully you're staying cool out there in Malaysia. Joining us from Sri Lanka, nice. Chandigarh, India. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. Okay, Tanveer is joining us in Northern California. Well, great, welcome. I grew up in Southern California, so I'm always interested in California. Good morning from India. Well, good morning to you too. Is it Sangamitra? I hope I pronounced that right. Prince George from London. Well, welcome, Your Highness. Are you actually a prince? It'd be cool if you were. But yeah, welcome. London's a beautiful city. I love going there. Such a cosmopolitan city. I was there last in February of 2023. I was doing some business out there in Canary Wharf. Pronunciation was on point. Wow, nice. Thank you so much. I try to be respectful of other cultures out there. Well, welcome. So many people from DTX. What is that? Dallas, I think? I used to live in Dallas. I lived in Dallas for 2 years. A very interesting city out there. Texas overall is very interesting. So yeah, thanks a lot, guys. I love seeing all this. I mean, you guys can tell this. I love seeing all of this stuff here, because I really, I like thinking of myself as a citizen of the world. So I love seeing all of these people joining from all over. Okay, so start lining up your questions if I can help you with something, and keep on introducing yourself if you'd like. If you want to tell me about your experience in data science, that'd be great. But we have a question from Musin07. It's a very broad question. Could you please help me at what I should do to be successful? I'm picking that question because this is something that I've kind of been wanting to address, and I haven't really found the right venue. Maybe I'll do a longer video on this. But one of the things that I see as a common thread in the comments that I get and in the personal messages that people send me, and I'm glad to get your messages, by the way, is I see a lot of people waiting to become a data scientist. And what I mean by that is that you're waiting for somebody to appoint you as a data scientist. You're waiting for somebody to give you that title of data scientist. I'm looking for an internship. I'm looking for my first job. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Don't wait. If you want to be a data scientist, be a data scientist. For a while there was this concept of citizen data scientists, and that's kind of died out a little bit, even though there are some advocacy groups out there that still do that. But if you want to be a data scientist, then be one. Don't wait for somebody to appoint you one. Don't wait for me to guide you. Don't wait for anything. One of the beauties of data science is that the tools for data science are egalitarian, right? And by egalitarian, I mean that they are freely and equally available, right? There is no special Python version that just Google uses. There is no limited libraries that only certain companies can use. All the languages, all the tools, all the libraries are out there and available, right? I mean, data science has very low barriers to entry in that way. So get away from school, get away from the tutorials, and start using some of those skills. Find your own data set. Form your own hypothesis. Test your own hypothesis. Create the tests for those. Run your own EDA, right? There's nothing stopping you from doing that. In that process, not only one, are you building your portfolio, but two, you're also helping develop your own methodology, your own personal approach to how you're going to conduct data science, right? At core, remember, we're supposed to be scientists, and no two scientists operate in the same way. So use this time, view this as an opportunity to be able to say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and just start being a data scientist. I'm going to do the work of a data scientist. Okay? So start doing that. There's a lot of value in actually practicing data science, right? No more tutorials, no more academics, no more nice, clean data sets that are handed to you in a class assignment. Do it yourself. There's plenty of data sets out there that you can use. Use your own creativity, your own mind to come up with a hypothesis. What are the tests you need for that hypothesis? Create them. Do it. So that's what I would encourage you to do. And I hope that helps, in some of the other questions that I'm going to see, because again, it's an ongoing theme that I see in the messages that I get. So that's the way I want to encourage you. And I'm happy to help you. If you take some of those steps and you get stuck, then come back to me. All right. So Moonies, I hope that helped you in some way. Let me kind of scroll back up here. Make sure I didn't, Jan writes, can you guide me on how to prepare for coding challenges related to data structures? If you will, you know what? I'm going to answer that with a question because help me understand why you're taking coding challenges around data structures. What is the motivation or what is the rationale for doing that? All right, Jen, I want you to come back to me with, help me understand like the rationale of why you're doing that. I'm curious, okay? Steven writes, how much of a deep dive into math is needed? None, guys. This is something where, you might find contradicting opinions to mine, and that's okay. We can all have our different perspectives in science. But I've written about this. I think I even posted like a funny posting on Instagram. The entire data science world, the entire data science ecosphere just needs two people that know math. One works for Meta, one works for Google, and then the rest of us will use the libraries that they write. That's it, right? So why do I say that? One, because, math is write once code, right? Like, you don't need to rewrite formulas over and over again. If you have like hard-coded math into your algorithms, then I would ask you to reevaluate how you're developing those algorithms. You really shouldn't need that because, formulas don't change, right? They just don't change that often. There's a reason why all of us use pandas or NumPy or scikit-learn, right? Because those are basically the methods that contain formulas in them, right? So as a data scientist, yes, you want to have an understanding of math, but are you going to need it? Are you going to be needing to do deep dives to be able to write models on a consistent basis? No. And I would actually say that if you are doing that, you're probably, something has gone wrong in your process, right? Like, why aren't you using NumPy, right? Or something else, some other standard library? Because you're also risking making a mistake in your formula if you're consistently rewriting formulas, right? It's one thing to have a formula like in LaTeX in your notes or whatever, but it's another to translate it into code, right? You're risking a lot of mistakes there. So really, I would advocate having like a half-day seminar worth of math. Maybe have a couple of books that you can refer to, like almost like a dictionary, which is what I do. I did a video on the book by K.A. Stroud. And the biggest thing I got out of that big math book is the power of estimation. He starts his entire math book just by talking about how, being a good estimator is a skill, and that's what I work on. I mean, that's my strongest math suit, that I'm pretty good at estimating things, right? I'm pretty good at thinking about different factors and numbers and coming up with a range, right? But really beyond that, I would say that you probably need a lot less math than you think you do for data science. So don't let that hold you back. But great question, Jan. I appreciate that. Excuse me, that was from Steven. Sorry. 6 feet underground. I think I've seen you in the chats before, so thank you for joining us again. Is it worth studying data science as a postgraduate degree, and will it grow forever, or is it coming to an end? Oh my gosh, you're killing me. Why would you ask this question, my friend? No, of course data science is not coming to an end. Data science is changing. Data science will always change. It's a very dynamic field. It's changed since, I got into it. It's changed since 10 years ago, 20 years ago. But no, it's absolutely not coming to an end. You just have to adjust with the skills, right? Again, no different than a doctor or a lawyer. A lawyer has to adjust to new changes in the law. A doctor has to adjust to new techniques and new research, right? You will have to do the same as a data scientist. And so no, it's definitely not changing. Do you need your question should be, do I need a postgraduate degree to work in data science? Maybe, maybe not. Depends on your background, depends on what you want to do in data science. So I think that's really the bigger question there, 6foot. So yeah, so maybe some things for you to think about. But no, I mean, if you're saying, hey, is it worth to make the investment in learning data science? Plenty of career left. It's going to change. AI is going to play a role. You know, eventually all of us are just going to sit around babysitting algorithms. But no, I think as a field, I think it's still very strong. But thanks for the question. I love that question. You're kind of killing me with it, but it's a good question. All right. Tanvir writes, I studied CS in my community college, and I just got accepted to University of Data Science. Congratulations, my friend. What should I do over the summer to get ready? Oh man, that's a great question. First of all, I love the attitude that you're looking ahead and you're saying, hey, I want to do my best in this. So good for you, man. So what would I be doing if I was getting ready for a data science program? You know, I'm gonna give you something that I think is really valuable, and if what I would do is I would want to take a course in probabilities, and have a better understanding of probabilities. Depending on your program, your university, not all programs do a good job of teaching you about probabilities. And I want all of my data scientists that work for me to always have a strong understanding of probabilities. Because remember, data science is not a perfect science. Algorithms do not give you the right answer, they give you the most probable answer. So I like for my data scientists to have a background in probabilities and be able to understand how these numbers come together, or, you know, kind of what the numbers mean, right? So I want to make that's what I would tell you. Go ahead and try to gain a basis in probabilities so that you can understand things a little bit better from a results perspective. What does it mean when I wrote an algorithm and I get these results? So that's what I would do if I was in your position. Good luck with your program. And let me know what you decide to do. Maybe there's something else you want to study, but that's what I would do if I was in your position. All right, so let's keep going. I'm not seeing any chat on YouTube right now. I just checked that I am still streaming on YouTube. But, you know, please if you're watching me on YouTube, feel free to also, you know, participate in the chat. Or if you're joining us a little bit later on Instagram, because I'm seeing the numbers on Instagram growing, feel free to let us know what city, state, province, and country you are joining us from. I love seeing that. I love seeing the international audience. So please go ahead and introduce yourself. Okay. Mo Abanihani writes, as a data scientist, I always struggle with the coding challenge, problem-solving questions. How can I improve this issue? Help me understand what you mean by that. Are you talking like during interviews, like tech interviews, or how do you mean? Give me a little bit more details, please. Okay. Abhinav Be Happy writes on Instagram, how can you add data exploration in your portfolio, or what are some types of projects you can do? Okay. I think this is a good one for us to talk about, because this is another common theme that I get in my comments or in my direct messages. So I'm going to challenge you a little bit on this one, because I recently did a video on creativity in data science, right? And I think creativity is super important. So if you haven't watched that video, I would point you towards that. I have it on my Instagram and on my YouTube. And One of the things I stress is that creativity in data science is really primarily about, well, first of all, let's make sure we're clear on this. Creativity in data science, I am not talking about the visualizations, right? I'm not talking about pretty colors and graphs. That's important in data science, but that's not what I'm referring to in creativity. I'm referring to how you see the world around you. Can you turn the world around you into numbers and models? That's where the creativity comes from in data science. So I use an example of if you're walking down the street and you're walking and seeing like buildings and you're walking in the middle of a city and you're seeing a lot of buildings around you. Can you come up with a model to represent those buildings? How tall are they? How many are there? How many windows do they have? How many doors they have? How do you see the world in that? So I want you to think about that, because sometimes when I see this question, I think to myself, well, if you're not creative enough to come up with your own projects, then maybe you shouldn't be a data scientist, right? Now, I hate giving you that answer because I don't want to kill anyone's enthusiasm for data science. But you should have enough creativity to be able to come up with your own projects. All right, so I hope that gives you something to think about. And again, if you haven't seen the video on creativity, please do so. Because I think that when you start developing that process of thinking, that's when you're developing yourself also as a data scientist. And you'll be able to contribute to future projects in that much better of a way. Because now you're being creative. Now you're looking at data and saying, oh, well, if I have that data, I also have this data. And if I can do this, I can also do that. And then I can also tie to this. And that's how you kind of develop and distinguish yourself as a data scientist, right? So I'm not going to give you any project ideas. I'm going to send you back and challenge you to think about what are some of the project ideas that you can exercise your creativity on. So again, I'm not trying to, pick on this particular question, but I get the theme of this question a lot. So good luck to you. I'm sure that you'll come up with something. All right. All right. Hey, we have our first participant in YouTube. YouTube always takes a little bit of while to get started, as far as like how they show your stream online. But we have our first YouTube. So Melvin, welcome. Melvin, if you want to tell us what city and country you're joining us from, I love hearing that. All right. So Melvin writes, I'm from a math background and I need to do my career in DS. Should I pursue my higher studies in stats or data science as postgraduate? Ooh, lots to unpack in that message there, Melvin. I'm focusing on your statement of I need to do my career in data science. Why? Tell me more about that. Why do you need to do your career in data science? Why does anybody need to do anything? Let me know, okay, Melvin? So we're gonna let your chat sit there, but I want to know why I need to do my career in data science. Give me more details there, okay? All right, back to our Instagram. If you're still joining us there, please feel free to join. Tell us where you're from, and the city you're from, the state, province, country, whatever. I love seeing that. Scrolling through some of my comments here on Instagram. I'm sorry, I'm just going to use the last part of your name, but Sammy writes, I'm a computer science student and I don't know what I want to be. I am just studying what I had learned. Please answer me. Okay. Why are you a computer science student? What put you on that path? Excuse me. I have a guide for students that I've put together. It's a free video guide on YouTube. I don't think it's on Instagram. It's too long for Instagram, but it's on my YouTube. It's more than 20 minutes. And I lay out what I think a student in data science would benefit most from, or how I would study data science now. And also some parts of how I did it, because some of the parts of how I did it, even though it was a while back, are still valid. But one of the things that I'm really big on is I'm big on making sure that you're following your passion in life. So I want to know why you are in computer science, but you don't know what you want to be. To me, that indicates that maybe you should reconsider what your passions are in life and what you're actually doing. I'm really big on this because I really think it's important for anything you do, not just data science. For me, my passion happens to be data scientist, and that's data science, and that's why I chose this path, and that's why I've been doing it for a long time. I've had success in it, and I'm just enjoying what I do. And I think that comes across in the videos and the content and even our live streams, our talks here. But that's all because it's driven by passion. It wouldn't be the same if I wasn't passionate about it. I was previously in a career that I wasn't passionate about. I was a software developer for a very long time. I was an early adopter of the .NET languages. I've done everything you can think about in the .NET languages. Did very well in that career. I flew all around the world doing that. Very, paid a lot of bills with my computer programming skills. C# paid a lot of bills for me, but I wasn't passionate about it. It wasn't my passion. I was good at it, but it wasn't my passion. So I'm going to challenge you with that, Sammy. Why are you in a program and you don't know what you want to be? So I want you to think about that. If you want to come back to me with an answer, let me know and we'll go from there. Okay? All right, sticking with the Instagram. Tanveer says, thank you, Dennis, and you're welcome. Happy to help. I'm just a guy talking into a camera, so I don't even know if this stuff even helps. I'm just passionate about data science. I like sharing, content out with the world. So if I'm helping you in some way, wonderful. Thank you for that. All right. Yours Prem writes, as I done my graduation in physics, then I changed the field of study and I done my master's in IT specialization in artificial intelligence. And now I got admission to Middlesex University of London at MSc. I'm sorry, I don't know the MSc part of it. But congratulations. That sounds like a great path if it's something that interests you. Good job. All right, Maths with Kanchana writes, hi Dennis, I'm from Sri Lanka. Nice. That's very far away. I'm very far from Sri Lanka, so it's nice to see you joining us. Thank you. I have done my master's in data science from Cardiff Metropolitan, I'm guessing, UK, and currently a math tutor for 11 years. Good. Can you advise on any funded programs? Over time, I like lecturing. Funded PhD programs. Ooh. I'm sorry, but I do not have any special knowledge on programs like that. I personally have never really been interested in pursuing a PhD, so it's never been something that I researched. So, you got to stay in your lane, right? You got to know when you can speak about things and when you can't speak about things. And this is one of those things that I really have no knowledge of. So I wish I could help you. But I don't. Maybe somebody else on the chat will be able to send a reply. If somebody can help with PhD program suggestions, please feel free to reply there. But I am not, I'm just not knowledgeable on this. Sorry about that. All right, keep going down my Instagram. I am a seasoned developer. I want to upskill, and this is Jan, by the way. I want to upskill by practicing the coding challenges related to DSA. Can you suggest a roadmap? I will be exploring data sciences then. So the video guide that I have for students also applies to people that want to make a career change, because I also get a lot of people who want to make a career change. My guide is intended to help with people who are students, first couple years out of school. Maybe you're like in data analytics, or maybe you made a mistake and you want to move over to data science, and then for people who also want to make a career change. So I would follow the same roadmap that I've laid out there. Personally, I've never found a lot of benefit in coding challenges, but that's just me. Maybe it's different for you. But for me, my biggest thing is to actually go out and find data sets and do my own data science, right? Because you got to remember, guys, data science is a lot about the scientific method, and how you think about problems, right? You gotta state a hypothesis. You gotta think about the experiments, the experiment design. You gotta write the experiments, so you gotta write some code, things along those lines. So I found more practice in being able to do that, kind of grow those challenges for myself organically. So that's what I would recommend to you, especially if you already have development experience, which it sounds like you do, right? Go out and do it on your own. Be your own data scientist instead of a coding challenge. Coding challenges are still going to be very much like school, where it's a nice, clean, sanitized data set, and you have a defined problem. Sometimes you even have a defined model to use. That's not how data science is done in the real world. Data science in the real world is kind of messy, right? There's a lot, as I like to say, there's a lot of hand-to-hand combat in data science. You got to deal with stakeholders and bad data and code that doesn't work, so on and so forth, right? So that's what I would do if I was in your position. So I hope that helps, Jen. So Zerubbabel, where are you writing in from? I don't think I saw where your city and state was. Share that with us. Can I keep both SE and data science analytics as my career? SC, I'm going to assume you mean software engineering. If I'm wrong on that, let me know. Why would you want to keep both careers? Just out of curiosity. Software engineering to me is rather boring after you've done data science. And I don't want to offend anybody, because I know we got plenty of computer science degrees and all that in the chat, but help me understand why you want to do both. I'm curious about that. And also keep in mind that I'm guessing that would mean that you'd have to work in 2 different languages, right? Because nobody is really doing pure software engineering with Python, right? Because assuming you're doing Python on the data science side, I can't think of anyone that is doing pure software engineering with Python. Maybe it exists, but not too often, right? Most Python shops are also data science shops, right? So you'd have to work in 2 different languages, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but probably not ideal. But you tell me. Help me understand why you would want to keep both. I'm curious about that. Okay, so yours Prem writes MSc in data science, and now I want to know how I approach for data scientists, what types of steps I can take for a successful career in DS. Same advice I've given on this chat and in other situations. Start doing it yourself. Again, don't wait for me or anybody else to appoint you a data scientist. You showing up for your first day in data science shouldn't be like the first time you're exercising the scientific method, right? If you're doing that, then something has gone wrong. You should be walking in there with your own projects on your own portfolio, saying, hey, I sourced this data, I formed a hypothesis, I wrote the experiments, and I did it myself. That's the attitude you should have on your first day. Don't wait for somebody to appoint you a data scientist. Don't wait for that perfect internship to come along, right? Go out there and do it yourself, and that's what I did. That's the reason I give that advice, because I'm sharing my past experience of how I did it. When I made that move into data science, I had a great software development resume, but not a great data science resume. So I started doing it myself. I remember I would actually go to Starbucks on like Thursday afternoons, and I would sit there and I would write. I would buy a coffee and I would write. I would bring my laptop and just write about data science. I had like a small blog that I was publishing out to. I spoke at a couple of conferences, but I didn't have a big audience. I didn't have an assignment. Nobody was paying me for this. I just did it, right? Just get out there and exercise your practice as a data scientist, right? I would go out and I would read white papers. I would find surveys. A lot of surveys, especially government surveys, they will make their raw data available as part of publishing that survey. So go out and use their raw data, right? Go out and just find data that interests you. So that's what I would tell you here. Yours Prem 23. you know, don't wait for somebody to give you the steps and here's a nice clean data set for you to use. That's not how it works. That's not how data science in the corporate environment works. So I'm going to challenge you with that a little bit. You know, do it yourself. If you're smart enough to get through a master's program, you're smart enough to come up with your own projects. So good luck with that. Excuse me, sorry about that. Nobody Knows S writes to us, does data structures and algorithms important in data science? Depends on the algorithms and data structures you're talking about. So, you know, data structures is always like a funny thing to talk about because it's so broad, right? There's so many things to data structures. And it's also a difference, a lot of things to talk about when you talk about algorithms, right? I remember one time I had this terrible job interview with this company in Atlanta, Georgia. They were doing some interesting things. So the job description and the pre-discussions I had with them were very interesting. But on the day of the interview, I guess like the primary interviewer was sick or something, and somebody else had to fill in for him. And the person that filled in for him just heard that they were supposed to test me on algorithms. So he actually ended up testing me on like computer science type of algorithms, like sorting algorithms and all that nonsense. And I told him that. I was like, you know, you realize these aren't the algorithms that we're going to do here, right? And, you know, I guess the guy was embarrassed and he didn't want to admit that he didn't know data science. So he just kept on charging through, right? You know, you get those people who just, they need to charge through their speech, right? No matter whether they're right or wrong, I gotta finish my speech, right? So he insisted on going through the interview, even though he was asking me about the sorting algorithms, and I can't remember what other, you know, computer science stuff, you know, he was, you know, those algorithms involved. But, you know, I kept on trying to stop him, saying, this isn't data science. But he was just too embarrassed to admit it. But that was a terrible interview. So that's why I'm kind of stopping here to kind of figure out, you know, kind of what you mean by algorithms, because it can mean so many different things. So let me know if you want to add some more detail there, okay? I'm looking ahead here. Zerubbabel writes, I am from Ethiopia. Wonderful. I think that's Eastern Africa. I think that's what that's considered. So wonderful. It's nice to see people from all over. Africa was the 6th continent that I visited. I hadn't visited Africa, but I did visit Africa. Well, I visited Africa multiple times. I've spent multiple trips in Morocco. But yeah, but wonderful that you're joining us. So thank you, Zerubbabel. Elijah, thank you for the answer to Nobody Knows. You know, yeah, if you're in the chat and you see a question that you also want to reply to, or you want to say, hey, Dennis, you're just plain wrong on this, let me give another answer, please do so. Would love to see that. Looking at my YouTube, Pack Cyber Squad Stories writes, hello, sir. Hello to you, Pack. Pack, let us know where you're writing from, and let us know the city and country that you're writing us from. Okay, coming back. Liam McDonald writes, thoughts on agentic workflows. Very exciting stuff, right? Tons of potential in agent workflows, or, you know, kind of like the promptless AI, right? That's another term that I've heard for it. Super interesting. I think that when more work is done to perfect agentic workflows, it's going to be where like the consumer level tools for AI really take off, right? People will get it more and more, right? That's where I think there's going to be a lot of value in some of these startups and these companies that are coming out, right? Where it's going to go beyond a search engine, beyond a chat interface, beyond just like, oh, ChatGPT is this convenient tool that I can ask things of. When we start getting more of these workflows, that's where, you know, really interesting things are going to start to happen. So I'm personally excited about that future. If you are in a place where you can start to kind of position yourself as a developer of those or helping companies work with those, I think there is a massive opportunity there as somebody who is involved in AI, knows how these things work and all that. It's going to require a lot of stakeholder engagement, right? It's probably going to be a little bit more of a stakeholder job than it is like a technical job. But I think there's a lot of reasons to be excited for some of those workflow tools that are coming up. So Liam, love the question. I love that we're mixing it up with the questions here because there are a lot of students and people want to study data scientists, but there's also a lot of practitioners that want to know kind of where the industry is heading, and that's really kind of what I do with my corporate clients. I don't really have student as clients. I have more corporate clients. So yeah, I love talking about that stuff, and I think it's really, really interesting times coming up ahead for us. All right, so looking back at my Instagram, lots of people joining us in the chat. If you missed our earlier chat, we did a little bit of a global roll call. I love hearing where all of you are from. So let me know what city, province, state, and country you're joining us from. I love seeing that, okay? The N2 writes, do you think it's doable in today's market if I don't have a relevant degree in IT and data science? Yeah, maybe. Depends on your existing background. You're gonna still want to develop some of those skills, because I had to do that when I made the move from software development to data science, or rather when I wanted to make the move. You have to take an honest assessment of what your resume looks like to the data science positions you're applying to. And I didn't have the academic credentials that I needed. So I went back to school. That's when I did my graduate studies. I had to kind of, say, okay, I had to be honest with myself and say, okay, well, I need a little bit more of the academic background. So that's not for everybody. I'm just sharing how I did it. But depending on your background, yeah, it's still possible. Sure. I mean, I like hiring people because they have a coding background. To me, that's super important in data science. And I'm going to do a video on that later on because I think that's an interesting topic. But I like hiring for a background in software development. I like seeing people that have deployed their own software development. So yeah, it can be done, but it's highly individual on your background and your experience. Okay, so good luck with that. Nobody knows S writes, and actually I guess he's writing to Elijah, so Elijah, feel free to reply. Appreciate the help there. Is OOPS concepts in Python enough? Yes. I actually just did a video on this yesterday, and that video is going to publish in 3 weeks. Don't underestimate the value of object-oriented programming in Python. Python kind of suffers from this thing where all you see out there in Python is scripts, notebooks, little snippets, things like that. So people think of Python as a procedural scripting language, and it is, but it's so much more powerful than that. And it's becomes a lot more powerful when you do object-oriented programming in Python. There will be a ceiling to how good you can write programs in Python if you keep it as a procedural language. And if you also just work in notebooks, right? There's a ceiling to how good you can get. Like, you're never going to do multi-threading that way, right? Right? You're never going to get to that level, right? So I would encourage you to think about it as an object-oriented programming language. And also, to me, that's kind of where like professional software development begins, right? When you can consistently have object-oriented code, because now you're writing programs, not just scripts, right? To me, that's like the little extra polish on you as your professional reputation as a developer, right? So nobody knows S. If you're looking to do more object-oriented programming in Python, good for you. I think that's the right track. And like I said, I have some videos coming up on that. But I think you're on the right track with that. Keep going down that road. All right, I'm gonna keep going here. By the way, guys, I'm only gonna stream for about another 5 minutes or so, because Instagram cuts off streams at an hour. Can you believe that? They cut off after an hour. So I don't like the stream to get cut off abruptly. So I'm gonna try to end before Instagram cuts me off. If I didn't get to your question, please feel free to participate in the comments. Feel free to send me messages. I try to reply to as many messages as I can. I get a lot of messages. I get a lot of notifications overnight, and I try to keep up with that. If I miss your message, please forgive me. But let's see what we can do here in the next few minutes here. The N2 continues his questions. If you were to take a master course, if you come from a non-IT background and pursue data science, what would it be? Great question. I love the question. Excuse me. I'm still getting over the cold I caught in Phoenix a few weeks back. Right now, there's a lot of really quality masters in data science that are available. That may not be the case for you in your area, in your country. But if you do have, a large university available, check for a dedicated master's in data science. In the US, there's quite a few now. But I share my experience because I know that not every country has that. So my master's studies was in applied statistics. It's about as close as you can get to a data science degree. The reason I say that is because data science, is ultimately about testing and about experiment design, and you learn that in applied statistics. In addition to that, a lot of problems that you're going to come across in the corporate world, that people think are data science problems, are really just applied statistics problems. They're just like some advanced form of statistics and analytics. So it's very helpful to have that applied statistics background. And then also, if you look at some applied statistics programs, a lot of them will have like a course like on regression methods, right? Like I had a course on regression methods. That's very common in applied statistics at the graduate level. Regression is a pretty good way to start your modeling career, right? Regression is a form of data science. So applied statistics programs, from what I've seen from most curriculums that I've seen, you're going to have to evaluate it on your own. But most applied statistics programs are actually pretty good for data science, right? They're going to give you a very solid foundation in numbers and ranges and distributions, in hypothesis testing, and in A/B testing and confidence intervals. You're going to learn all that in a good applied statistics program, and you're going to learn regression methods, right? So that's a pretty good foundation for data science, right? You're still going to need to do a couple other things on the side for yourself, but applied statistics is what I would be looking at, okay? So I hope that helps you. But yeah, I love the question because, data science programs are increasingly popular, but not everybody has access to them, because I have an international audience. So yeah, let me know if that works out for you. Skylar writes, I have an enormous amount of raw healthcare data. Where do I start my journey in data analytics for cheap? YouTube seems to be too shallow. Why is it expensive now? To me, data science and analytics access is already cheap, right? We talked about this earlier in the stream. The beauty of data science is it's so egalitarian, right? There's no special Python versions or Google only pandas libraries. You have access to the same tools that they do, right? Excuse me, guys. Sorry. I really need a mute button. I have a great microphone, but it has terrible mute button access. I apologize for that, guys. But why do you think it's expensive now? Help me understand that. And also be careful with healthcare data, right? There's a lot of laws around healthcare data and how you handle that. So I don't know how raw of data you have. But let me know, kind of keep that in mind, right? Keep that in mind. You have to be careful with that data and how you handle it. All right, guys. So we are coming up on an hour, and I want to wrap up the stream here. If I didn't get to your questions, I apologize. Please feel free to send me a message or join in a future live stream. I'm going to be doing these live streams on a more consistent basis. Most likely on Sundays, maybe some other times during the week. We'll see. But really enjoy meeting all of you and having you spend some time with me. I hope this has been helpful. I hope that you find my content helpful. And, just keep at it. Keep in mind my earlier notes about don't wait to be appointed a data scientist. Run your own experiments, get your own data, do things that interest you, right? And sometimes maybe you're working on data that only interests you, but that's okay, right? But overall, just make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. Make sure you're doing this because you're passionate about it, because you find it interesting, because you like numbers, because it's something you want to do. Don't do it for the money. Don't do it for the careers. Do it because you want to be involved in the data science world. But thank you all for joining me. Really enjoy the time we spent together. Really enjoy putting this content together for all of you. And take care of yourselves. Be safe in your part of the world. And I will see you next time. Thanks, everybody.